Hi, this is Dave Whelan, editor of the Cambridge Spy, and we continue today with our partnership with WHCP Community Radio in our monthly check-in with the Mayor of Cambridge, Andrew Bradshaw. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Mayor, since we last talked, Cambridge experienced a fatal shooting in the city. Can you tell us about that incident and how the city can overcome community reluctance in informing police about crimes taking place?
Well, the shooting that we had a couple of weeks ago now um, was one that was apparently it was targeted. Um, it's unclear if the young man that was killed was the target, but they were laying in wait for him. Um, but it's a situation that we see in Cambridge all too often, where violence and deadly violence is the answer that's turned toward instead of finding some level of agreement. And there's concern in the community with regard to reaching out and providing information because if someone's willing to take a life, then it's difficult to feel comfortable in providing information when you fear that your life may be next. In this case, we have, I believe, all the shooters have been arrested, as well as some accomplices. There's one individual that may still be being sought that was involved with uh, either the planning or some discussions that occurred prior to and after. But by and large, I think in this case, the community came forward and provided good information quickly, and we were able to make arrests. But we've got other homicides that uh, one was recently closed that was well over a year before we were able to make an arrest, and that was one in which um, new information provided by some members of the community led to the arrest being made. Had that information not been brought forth, we wouldn't have been able to take that individual off the streets. But by and large, I think there is a fear of saying too much, especially in the case of violent crimes, because people don't want to become victims themselves. Commission President Cephas and I have been talking a great deal out in the community about this. We've had some meetings, and one of the things that we've discussed is, when an individual comes forward, they can be targeted, but when a community comes forward together, it's impossible to target everyone stepping forth and saying we want to take back our streets, we want to bring peace back to our city.
The other thing that is worth noting is that the Cambridge/Dorchester COVID numbers are still running relatively high. Have you gotten any indication from the health department regarding how we're going to be dealing with safe gatherings and openings and activities, et cetera?
The actual number of COVID, I guess, positive tests remains fairly high, but severe cases continue to go lower. And the number of vaccinations that are being provided continues to, I think, be impressive. There's an event that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks that Dion Banks and Keisha Peticolas from the Eastern Shore Network of Change for Change are working on putting together an event to try to get more vaccine information out into Cambridge's African American community, turn it into a bit of an event so that people can be proud and celebrate going out and making a positive health choice. So that's something that we're going to continue to do, trying to market it and message it in such a way that people understand that until we're able to get vaccines out there broadly, and until we're able to get numbers back down in the 10 cases countywide versus the 70 cases countywide area, we're going to have to continue um, seeing some sacrifices, whether it be smaller gatherings or not going and spending as much time out in public places and having public events. And we want to get away from having to avoid those things. So, a broad vaccine push out continues to be key.
Being a firefighter yourself, I wonder if you could comment on this horrific High Street house fire that claimed 3 lives recently.
It is that's the kind of fire, the High Street fire that occurred a few weeks ago, where 3 lives were lost. That's going to be ingrained in the memories and in the minds of everyone that was involved, from the firefighters, police, really the city as a whole. It's something that's going to be part of our consciousness moving forward. I know that it's been tough for members of the fire department. You do this, you join in order to to save, and in a case where you are unable to do so, it's very difficult, and especially with children being involved, it's even more difficult. Um, but it's something we'll learn from too. And there were, I think, um, some things that we found out subsequent that the fire department can learn from, but also that the city can learn from. You know, in this case, I think that the building was fairly well maintained. We see so many houses in Cambridge that have uh, problems with regard to building code violations, fire code, safety violations, and this one I'm not certain was like that. Um, but we're still waiting for some fuller information to come from the fire marshal's office. But regardless, we know that um, should this have been a building that was meeting code, then we see in a case like this what occurred, then we obviously understand that in buildings that have broader issues, these kinds of tragedies can happen again. So we're working right now on some language for the city council. We're in the early stages right now because we want to get this right. But with regard to minimum livability standards that go beyond the state minimum livability standard, um, I'm personally looking closely at Talbot County standard because I think it's pretty broad and it's very good. And we're still working toward getting back to interior code inspection because that's going to be key. Getting into buildings, ensuring that ensuring that smoke alarms are in place, ensuring that exits aren't blocked. These are little things that go a long way in saving lives. And we don't want to see another case where an 8-year-old and an 18-year-old and the father are lost. So um, we've got to, for the safety of the city, do these things, even if there are times um, inconvenient for tenants or for landlords or property owners. We've got to do what's best to ensure that everyone's safe and that lives aren't lost because of little easy things that can be done. Hanging a smoke detector takes all of 5 minutes. So
It's unfortunate that we had to go with three kind of sobering conversations, but I do want to ask you what's going well. I mean, what?
though there have been some tragic things that have happened over the course of the last, say, 3 weeks or month, I think by and large things are moving positively. We've still got a great relationship amongst city council members. People are bringing forth great ideas with regard to changes that are going to be coming forward. Um, Policies are going to make the city safer and better. And we've got a lot of investment coming into Cambridge right now. People can look out on Route 50, out toward the Walmart shopping center. There's a new Tractor Supply that's going to be opening soon. Um, the new medical facility in Cambridge Marketplace is going to be online soon. And there's a large amount of residential and commercial building that's starting to occur. It's really promising. It's really encouraging. It's going to contribute to the city in terms of population, in terms of tax base, in terms of cultural and social opportunities for people. So there's a lot. I mean, there is nothing that can be said negatively about these things in my mind, other than maybe a little bit more traffic. And if I've got to sacrifice, 3 minutes getting somewhere to have a more vibrant and a brighter future for Cambridge, I'm absolutely happy to do that.
As we wrap up, I wonder if you could give us a little bit of a update on the packing house. We've spent a lot of time talking about the waterfront project, which is a much more longer term project than the packing house. And I know that a lot of people are interested in what the current status is. Could you help us with that?
The council and I, about a month ago now, and did a tour of the packing house facility on Dorchester Avenue. And that's really exciting what they're doing in there. The last time I was in there, it was a disaster, and now they're getting to the point where windows are in, the roof is secure, there's space opening up. You can start seeing the vision, and it's just going to be absolutely a transformative project for that corridor. But going beyond that, behind it, the new Cannery Park that's going to be built in conjunction with it, we're getting close to the point where there's going to be some additional design that's going to be released. We're going to be having an event soon that's going to be a bit of a groundbreaking, a bit of an update for Rails to Trails that's going to run through there. So there's a lot of good things happening there, and it's going to become a hub of activity for the city in that area, but really a draw as well because of some of the tenants that are coming into place. The Blue Oyster Environmental Company is going to have an oyster bar in there. local guy, Johnny Shockley. So really excited about that. Um, it's just going to be, something that's been a bit of an eyesore for 2 decades since the antique store left out of there. It's finally going to become something that's going to be a draw for that corridor of the city, and it's going to, I think, help everyone along the Dorchester Avenue corridor and the Washington Street corridor with regard to the park availability, but also amenities, property values, other things are going to find their way into the area as a result of this.
When are those new renderings going to come out?
I believe we're going to have some further renderings and information with regard to the park sometime in the month of May. I've been talking to our planning director about this. I don't think we finalized the date yet, but she's going to be scheduling a presentation to the council regarding that, and then also an event on the property.
Well, look forward to covering that as well. You've been awfully kind to do this on a Sunday. Is there anything else you want to make sure that the community knows about?
I just think it's continuing to be an exciting time in Cambridge. There are still things that occur that are disappointing and hurtful, and violence and the loss of life in a fire. But even though there are tragedies that occur, I think that the future of Cambridge has been never brighter than it is now. This is a time for this city where there's going to be continuing positive, hopeful change, and as that occurs, it's going to be something that's going to contribute for everybody that's living here, whether they've called Cambridge home for 6 months or 60 years.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.